Good evening or good afternoon, and welcome to the 2021 Plan New Hampshire Awards event in partnership with the Hotel Concord. Thank you so much. We're glad that you're here. We're glad that everyone is here. And thank you for those of you who are joining us from Zoom. And we've got people in the next room from where I'm talking that are watching this. And we've got people in this room whom you'll meet very soon. Before we do anything, we can't thank our sponsors enough. The Hotel Concord is gracious enough to show us the space here today. Stibler Associates, Interior Design is sponsoring the event, and Shaw Contract is also sponsoring the event. And Dana Boudreau could not be here with us today, and she said she sent her apologies to you. We also want to thank people who are very special members of Plan New Hampshire, the Raleigh Agency, New Hampshire Saves, and Solway and Hollis. Derek Lick is in the room, so thank you very much for that. And we'd also like to thank JSA and Croteau Consulting for going above and beyond in their support of Plan New Hampshire. For those of you who are not familiar with us, Plan New Hampshire has a vision of healthy and vibrant communities across the state. And our mission to get there is to foster excellence in planning and design and development of our built environment. So that's our focus. There's a lot that goes into healthy and vibrant communities. Our focus is the built environment. And our strategy to do that is to share information and inspiration for how community design and the built environment can contribute positively to where we all and you all live and work and play. And now I'd like to turn it over to the 2021 Scholarship and Fellowship Awards portion. Before I do that, please, all of you who are listening in, please be sure that you are muted and please turn off your cameras. Thank you. And I'd like to bring up Nora Sturdivant and Caroline Corvo to talk about the Scholarship and Fellowship Awards.
Thank you, Robin. I failed to mute myself a little earlier. I hope that that can be edited out from the final presentation. My apologies to everyone. Welcome. I see 7 scholarship recipients in the room today, which is wonderful. This is our first attempt at a hybrid methodology. It's great to see 3 returning recipients who I think you guys are all in your lab. No, Hannah's still got a little more time for us to continue to refine our relationship. So our process is involved working for the second year through the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation platform. Received almost 100 applications.
Yep, 95.
95 applications this year. So you guys actually are in pretty solid company. It used to be we would get 15 applicants and we'd be 2 out or whatever, but this is a much better field. And the other thing that struck me about this year's group is we had a lot more creative elements. We have more in the way of artists and people that are really sort of pushing the envelope in a lot of different ways. So thanks for being so awesome, and we're glad to give back. In the end, we know that you guys care as much about the values of Plan New Hampshire and our state, and we hope as you build your careers and make your impact, you'll be doing so in New Hampshire. If not, we'll put a little check next to your name and remember that for the future. But, so I think, did the space bar work?
I think they are.
Sure. So what the program is about is recognizing the students who call New Hampshire home and are studying in a field relating to the Plan New Hampshire mission, which you guys all heard about from Robin earlier. I want to thank the Charitable Foundation for the partnership in this program, not only technical but financial. We administer a number of funds on behalf of the Charitable Foundation, only one of which is directly funded by Plan New Hampshire. With me in this effort for now the 3rd year as co-chair is Caroline Corvo from Warren Street Architects. I'm Nora Sturdivant, co-chair. Janella McDonald, who I think I saw in the other room, with Stibler Associates, Steve Hepsch with LaValle Brensinger, Christopher Ross, who's an architect in sole practice up in the Upper Valley, and Andrew Cushing from the New Hampshire Division of Parks and Recreation. Great crew, all of them except for me, prior scholarship recipients from this from these funds, which is pretty fun too. One of the things I'm going to deviate slightly. Caroline's heard this before. Some of you have probably also. One of my favorite things about this particular program is that we get to meet students sometimes pretty early on in their growth and get to see how they grow, not only in terms of their academic excellence, but as people. I know some of you are going to be overseas next year. When that happens, the person that returns is pretty different from the person that left. And just to see that growth is so wonderful. And then, somewhat selfishly, I know Carolyn and I both are active participants in using our knowledge of the individuals who are here to recruit them to come work for us. So there is a somewhat selfish motive here, but it's good for everybody. So our first recipient, I'm actually going to turn it over to Caroline. Let you.
Sure.
This is all going to be alphabetical. So
Absolutely.
Yep.
Stephanie, do you want me to look around here?
Yep.
Okay. All right, our first recipient is Ali Abakova. She's a fine arts major at UNH, and she received a Granger Award this year. Do you want to just stand here for a second? And we're just going to share a little bit of the students' work. Do you want to talk a little bit about your work really quickly?
Yes, I can. The first image on the left would be a cardboard sculpture I made. It's supposed to be an abstract depiction of a person's personality, and that person would be my mother in the most respectful way possible. It was a lot of fun to experiment with the cardboard and see how versatile the material is, because you don't typically see it as being yes. The next one is just a fine charcoal study. It's probably one of my favorite drawings. And the last one is it's this huge mask of Queen Amidala that I made, and we wore them around the school in the parade. It's also cardboard, and it just the scale and the size of it changes the connotations and the meaning behind the mask. So that was probably my favorite thing I've ever made.
and that's still on display at the PCAC.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
I think it kind of broke off, but it's not moving on.
I believe this is the first year we've seen Ali's work.
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah, and we're blown away. So thank you for applying this year. Do you want them to stand up here together?
Yeah. Why don't we just sort of take. Maybe, Al, if you don't mind standing behind that table, and then we'll bring the next student up, and then we're going to have everybody collect together on camera, and we're going to have a class picture at the end of all this.
All right, Crystal Giard. Come on up. Crystal is an architecture major at Syracuse University, and she's also receiving a Granger Award this year. And we're sharing a little bit of her work, if you don't mind speaking to it a little bit.
All right, so the first one is a plan from the Texas Art Institute that I made. It has a strong focus on STEM, so it's kind of like a maker space. And the idea is that there's these multiple buildings that people go to, and in between there's this webbing that takes the shape of these organic blobs, sort of, but it makes a sun shading path in between these very orthogonal hallway-like shapes on the outside. And the second one is a preschool that also functions as a community space for children to come and play on this outside playground that starts to swerve in and out of the building from that main member space right there. And the third one is a character that I created when I was little, and over time I've developed her, and finally I made her out of clay. And so I'm really proud of that one.
Very cool. We love seeing like the organic shapes that you can have fun with in school still. I just love that. Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
Derek Goulet, I don't think he could be with us this evening. He is an engineering major at UNH, and honestly, I didn't understand half of what he said in the interview. This is his
Well,
work.
So bottom line, what Derek is doing is he's going to save the world, starting with the oceans. So he is doing a lot of thermal dynamics and pressure studies in the oceans, working up at the Chase Lab at UNH. I think if you got almost half of that, you did pretty well. The guy's brilliant. I understood very little of what he had to say, but I think I'm doing him justice in my
Yep,
description.
he's doing great things. Emily Johnson, she couldn't be here as well. She's an arts major at UNH, and she also received a Granger Award. She was doing some funky things with painting and sculpture. And actually, I don't think I've seen that center image before. That one's
Yeah,
very cool.
I think the other thing that's interesting about Emily is that she's starting to bring her art into the realm of music as well. So trying to blend graphic and studio arts with musical art form is her challenge.
Jordan Peck, another, he's a return recipient and he could not be here tonight. He's an architecture major at Roger Williams University. And just share a couple pieces of his work. Megan Pelletier, she is also a return recipient and she could not be here this evening. Architecture major with a minor in construction management at Norwich University. And she and Jordan and a couple others are some of our students that we'd love to see, as North said, come back as repeat applicants, and we can see the progression in the work. It's just fantastic. Hannah Perry, she's with us this evening. Hannah is an architecture major at Wentworth University Institute of Technology in Boston, and she is a Granger recipient. If you don't mind speaking a little bit, please.
Yeah, so the first one on the left is very recent. We did a precedent study of this, kind of like a cafeteria that's in Germany. And what they have is this really interesting system for their roof where it's all glulam and these honeycomb cells that protrude from it. And it's like this secondary structure that has multiple purposes like ventilation and skylights. And it's just a really interesting space to be in. And then on the right is from a year ago, and it's a render of a building that we did actually that's on campus, and they had us take out a portion of the building and design it from scratch as a design and maker space.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Hannah. Joey. Joey is an architecture major at the Academy of Art University this year, and he is a Granger recipient. And here are some samples of his work.
So one thing that's very important to me is biophilic design, trying to integrate structure in the built environment with nature. Always has been, and I don't see any reason for it to stop. So the image to the left is the most recent studio project that we had, which was an exploration on Angel Island in San Francisco. And it was interesting because it's actually sort of a commemorative museum slash functional space on the island right near the Welcome Center. And you can actually get onto the roof and go up the mountain. And then when you get to the end, you can move back and go into the museum portion, which is all based on the Asian descent of the island, good and bad, if you did read about it, and the portions of the Native American Indian societies that have called the island home for its time. The other two projects on there are real world applications that I've worked on recently, as small as kitchen renovations. But the pride and joy is in the top right, which is a 44 unit apartment complex that my company and I have helped design. And that's in Lebanon, New Hampshire, and they're actually breaking ground on next Monday.
Excellent,
So that, I'm proud of that.
great. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Ray.
Jacqueline? Am I saying that right? Jacqueline? She's an architecture major at Keene State College, and she's a Harvey recipient. Some work.
So these are 3 images from my capstone, my final capstone project at NHTI, where we had to pick a building and which pick something that there's a building being in talks and we had to look into it and kind of do research and find our client, so to speak. And I decided to do the Manchester School of Technology, which is the high school that I went to. It's also a technical career center. And they've been wanting to make a building for the longest time because they have limited space. So I made them an academic building. And you can see at the far left, there is a garden that I made to kind of have that biophilic feeling to the building, but also so students learn more about and can take advantage in their CTE programs about this kind of design. And on the other side, you can't really see it, but there are solar panels as well. So you can walk around and learn all about that. And then the middle one is just rendering of the entrance of the building. And the last image would be the atrium of the building where all the students would kind of congregate. So yeah, that's the project.
Thank you very much. Sheldon Rogers is an architecture major at Norwich University. He's going into his master's year, and he is a Granger recipient, also a multiple year, third year? Is this your third year?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think so.
Third year of us awarding a scholarship to Sheldon. Here's some of his work he can speak to.
So the left to right images are, so this is all done last semester, and we were tasked with making a textile factory, but at first we had to make a textile. So in our textile had to have a use, so I made a poncho that folds out into a tent that has lights in it. And then the picture in the middle is the kind of final portion of the textile.
Very cool. Thank you, Sheldon.
Thank
Logan Stevens. Logan is a civil engineering major at UNH, and he received our Plan New Hampshire Scholarship Award this year. And you can just speak to whatever you
All
want.
So I thought, I've had the privilege of doing a variety of things in civil engineering. So I thought kind of one of the best ways to show this was to show my hard hats. If you look in the center, that bright neon one was the first internship I had worked at Pike Industries, where I worked with a project manager. And then I was also on a paving crew, and I paved and built roads all over the state. If you're from New Hampshire, you've probably driven on the road that I paved, which I think is kind of cool. And then if you look down in front of that to the right, the one that kind of looks like a bike helmet, it's from Skanska. And I actually, at UNH, I had the opportunity to work with Skanska, which is a huge worldwide company in the design of an academic building, the renovation and design of an academic building, which was super cool to see because, I walk to my dorm from class, put on my steel toe boots, and then walk and build the building right there. So that was something cool to see. And then on the left is New Stress, which is, I did that this past winter break. It's a precast concrete company in Epsom, New Hampshire. And I was tasked with designing and building a prototype for an emergency humanitarian aid shelter that's to be used in Armenia and then kind of disseminated outwards. So that was a super cool project because I was able to use my technical skills to a more like humanitarian side of things and kind of put those two together. And then on the right is UNH. That's where I go to school. I do research there as part of the asphalt group. And then in the front left is GPI, which is where I currently work and have worked for a little over a year now. And unironically, I actually met somebody from GPI at this award banquet my first year and made that connection and got me an internship that's lasted over a year. So Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you, Logan. Also a repeat recipient.
And probably one of the most well-grounded recipients we have.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be funny.
Well, but, all right, should we do a class picture?
Yeah, let's do a class picture. What's best, Jamie? Having everybody come up here, or you want to have everybody in front of the table?
Oh, this is fine, over here. Yeah.
Yes, so everybody, why don't you come back over here? You all look great, so you don't need to do anything.
Maybe some churros.
Yeah, Hannah, you probably always go to the front.
I do always say that.
So. Alright, so I guess. And take one more, couple more. Awesome, thank you.
Congratulations, guys. Well done. We'll turn it over to Melissa.
Yes, so thank you, North, and thank you, Caroline, and congratulations to all of our student awardees. It's so great, and as they've said over and over, it's so great to see them grow through the years. Some of you may have a question, what do the arts have to do with the built environment? Well, one of the award funds that we have is the Granger Award, and that Granger Award is something that we manage, and it does include engineering, and it includes studio arts, and it includes a couple of other things. So it's kind of a catch-all, or not catch-all, but just there's a lot of different components to it. But the arts is one of them, so that's why they qualify under this particular arena. Now I'd like to introduce Alyssa Murphy of Placework, and Alyssa is going to introduce this year's Plan New Hampshire Merit Awards. Alyssa.
Thank you. Really glad to be here today to present the Merit Awards. The Merit Award program is a program that recognizes outstanding projects that have a positive impact on their communities and that reflect the values of Plan New Hampshire and its mission. So they're not specifically design awards or construction awards, but they really look at the whole picture of the project and how it has an impact on the community, which makes it really interesting. Our committee this year, the jury that reviewed all of the applications was made up of a diverse group. Sloan Mayer, Carrie Sweeney, Nicole Davis, Jeff Spitzer, Chris Nato, Brian Garris, and Cecilia Ozzie. So thank you to all the jury members who helped review the applications and make the selections this year. Our first Merit Award recipient is the Newport Opera House and Court Building. So I will tell you a little bit about the project. The combined Newport Opera House and Court Building sits prominently on Newport's Main Street. It has served the community for many years, but was in need of a refresh. So a historic assessment of the building was completed, and a grant was received from LCHIP that supported a new roof, restoration of the steeple as well. All of the historic stained glass windows were restored and reinstalled. And with the replacement of the Opera House floor, there was a crucial sound attenuation between the Opera House and the courthouse to allow them to be used at the same time. So by renovating and creating this accessible space, it's now available to all the community to gather for events. The Opera House has shows, other community events, even high school graduations, and it really reinforces the social hub of the town in this close-knit community. Excuse me. The project team for this project, the owner is the town of Newport, but the other key players are the Newport Opera Association, Milestone Construction, Scully Architects, LCHIP, the American Tower and Steeple, Northeast Masonry, Danaher Floors, and Foster Professional Painting. So just to share a little bit of what the jury loved about this project, we really felt like it exemplified a community investing in their past to support their future. by looking at a historic building and instead of taking what might have moved activities outside of town, reinforcing the downtown by working with the building that they had, restoring it to its original beauty, and the collaboration that went into it by many different community members. So that is what we liked about that. I'd like to invite the team reports to come up and receive the award.
Which one of you is with the town of Newport?
Thank you very much.
You're absolutely welcome. And Frank, I'm giving this to you.
I'm in charge of that. Good luck.
We'll just get a picture.
Would any of you like to say a word about the project?
Well, I mean, the only thing I would say is I got involved with this with the town manager, Hunter Reesberg, probably 3 or 4 years ago. And just a real commitment from the town to rehab this building. And the selectmen got on board and they raised a lot of this money in-house themselves. They got the LGIP grant, but that's not what built it. Really, the commitment from the town is what really built it. So really, we started off, you kind of cover the collar. I've done the roof, now what do I do? And we got together and then they got an assessment done with Scully Architects and got a game plan. Really, really important to get an assessment done, so you've got a roadmap, and then we just follow the roadmap. So it's a good example of what can happen in a community if everybody gets together and they get help from Plan New Hampshire and the Preservation Alliance and everybody else that's out there that can guide them along the way.
And I'll just add, on the community level of things, the Opera House truly is the center of it all. And with the work that Milestone and Scully Architects has done, it's back to life again. We have a few additional grant projects underway right now. A huge project for the back entrances that's starting soon. And you can just tell people are excited. They have all new events planned. It's going to be opening, I believe, next month to the public, but there's renewed energy. And we see on an economic development side of things, the Opera House as the start of it all, really helping us grow the rest of our economic development efforts and get everything and everyone excited again. So thank you.
First picture.
Oh,
Very good. Yeah, stay backwards.
I gotta tell them to get out of here.
Just shift.
Thank you.
Okay, our next merit award recipient is the Kerry Cottage at Creek Farm. This project is one of the few remaining historic summer cottages on the New Hampshire seacoast. In the late 19th, early 20th centuries, this 38-room home became a summer arts colony, drawing prominent writers, artists, and musicians. And notably, Russian and Japanese delegations were welcomed there by the owners Arthur Astor Carey and his wife Agnes during the Treaty of Portsmouth negotiations in 1905. So the building has a really important history. It's on land owned by the New Hampshire, the Society for the Protection of New Hampshire Forests, and has long been a place where Portsmouth residents enjoy walking. It was in danger of demolition in 2019, but a Save Kerry Cottage campaign by the residents, many residents and neighbors in Portsmouth, really spurred an innovative partnership between a local philanthropist and a developer to save this building. The cottage now houses 7 nonprofit tenants in an environment that creates economies of space and opportunities for shared knowledge. The original music room, which you see here, was restored for its use as a gathering space for both the tenants and the wider community. Kerry Cottage public spaces are now serving both the nonprofits and are inclusive and accessible for the public to access water views, a beach, and hiking trails. So the team behind this project is the Society for, sorry, I trip over that every time, the Society for the Protection of New Hampshire Forests, JSA Design, Chinburg Properties, Altus Engineering, JSN Associates, Design Day Mechanicals, and Life Safety Fire Protection. And what the jury really loved about this was not only was the building restored beautifully to its sort of original splendor, but serves both public and nonprofits that are serving the wider community. So while many Plan New Hampshire projects really are about reinforcing downtown and walkability, this is a little bit different because it's outside of town, but is really integral to the wider community and recreation for Portsmouth residents and visitors. So that is the Carey Cottage. Please come.
Great, thank you.
My name is Jack Savage. I would observe that I noted at the beginning of the presentation that Plan New Hampshire's mission is taking care of the built environment. At the Society for the Protection of New Hampshire Forests, we very explicitly try to preserve the unbuilt environment. The thing that we have in common is the people that inhabit both those places. And it is sometimes the case, and it was the case at times in this whole project, that we play rock, paper, scissors in terms of what's more important, the built environment, the unbuilt environment, or the people that inhabit the both. The great success that this represents is that we were able to come together and figure out an outcome that took care of all three of those things. And I in particular want to give all due credit to Eric Chinburg. There are many people who made this possible, but over the course of the years that lead to this final successful conclusion, Eric took the time to listen carefully to what the Forest Society needed as the owner of the overall property, as the ones who were stewards of the 35 acres of open space that exists there, and our need to preserve that place environmentally as a place for public recreation. He took the time to listen to that and then fit into that context a way to, in fact, preserve this historic building for what has turned out to be just fantastic use under the stewardship of good work. And what a great job JSA did in figuring out how to design that place, take care of the historic integrity of the building, and make it work for modern use. Eric, do you want to say anything?
I just want to say that it would have broken my heart and a lot of people's hearts if this building had to have been torn down. And in working with a great local philanthropist and working with Jack, who with his board convinced a bunch of people that this is possible to save and create this hub of nonprofit use and save this gem is a real point of pride for me and this team.
Right. So thank you very much. Thanks to everyone involved on this.
Thank you.
Our next merit award goes to Showroom in Keene, New Hampshire. The Main Street Colonial Theater in Keene was able to provide a right-sized flexible theater space to invigorate the public spaces that enliven Keene's arts corridor. They acquired and renovated an early 20th century auto showroom that was adjacent to the current site. Although its opening has been delayed by COVID, anticipation of new theater has had a positive, uplifting impact on the community already. Architecturally, the existing 18-inch wide flanged steel frame structure within the showroom was reused to to set a post-industrial steel beam aesthetic that feels robust, young and active, and accommodates the needs of all ages. And a range of cultural interests from hip hop to refined MetLife performances in the new comfortable seats. The team from the Colonial Theater, the owner, Colonial Theater, Scully Architects, Next Stage Design, SCT Structural, WV Engineering, BEW Construction, and Nancy Belluccio, the photographer. And the jury was really excited about this one for the way that, unlike the first two projects that renovated a historic building and to its original use, this was a transformation of a building that had been industrial into a cultural use, reinforcing King's cultural corridor. And we also really love the wordplay. The showroom to the showroom is a great transition. So congratulations to the showroom team.
Thank you. Thank you. Great. Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of what you just said was exactly what we intended to do, is to bring some vibrancy to downtown. The Colonial Theater itself, the 800-seat theater, has been such a venerable piece of our community, and that board decided they needed something smaller and more flexible. And we really ended up doing it like a kid's transformer toy, where you could transition from bank seating of 155 seats to a flat floor for 300 people. And it became a venue which had an ability to bring a mix of more local events. I like to think of it as a transformer, as I said, because that it was a car showroom. And then it transformed into another thing that's met a more modern need. And to carry the car theme a little further, we did nothing to the outside of the building. So it was really like a sleeper car, where it looks totally stock, and then inside it's supercharged and capable of all kinds of things now. But the real transformation will be what it adds to the community in terms of the vibrancy of activity downtown. And it's all possible because of the director.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Thank you for your great work. On behalf of the Colonial Theater Board of Directors, our great team, and our staff, I'd like to thank Plan New Hampshire for this award. I can tell you that when you start a project like this, you really hope to get the finish line and have people be satisfied and feel as though it's come out close to what you expected. I can relay to you that to date, pretty much the standard reaction to this is that it has exceeded expectations on all fronts. So we're very excited about it. We'll be opening up in the middle of August with some full attendance events in this space. And we look forward to it having many, many years of great service for the Colonial Theater Group, Inc. Thank you.
Oh, no, you-
You want to shoot?
Oh, shoot.
You want your picture? Yeah. Hold that way. Right. No, of course.
Of course. Thank you. Great. Thank you. Thank you.
And our final award for this afternoon is actually a Merit Award of Honor. Their projects we're honoring this evening are all great, but this one rose above, and the jury just wanted to give a little bit more honor, I guess, by lifting it up because it is a really unique project. The Magical History Tour is a project that established 16 professionally painted murals throughout the downtown of Keene that tell thought-provoking, meaningful, and celebratory stories about Keene's history and heritage. The possibility of this project hinged on attracting the famous Wall Dogs, a group of highly skilled sign painters and mural artists from all over the world to hold one of their annual meets in Keene. The local organizers set out to bring this event to Keene for their community to rediscover its local history and use public art as a catalyst for reinvigorating vitality in the downtown. This community-led project, with the Keene Wall Dogs headquarters in a vacant storefront space on Main Street, involved over 1,000 participants, a team of local historians, and raised hundreds of thousands of private dollars. The 16 mural subjects are engaging and interconnected, creating a link between one mural and another, a conversational path through the downtown streets. So another example of one of the murals. The team that brought this together, lead project organizers were Judy Rogers of Prime Roast and Peter Conarosa of Keene Signworks, also the Keene State College, Keene Friends of Public Arts, and the Wall Dogs were the actual painters of the murals. The jury was really just blown away by the degree to which this project reached into all areas of the community, did a ton of research on the history of Keene, and the murals themselves depict really a wide-ranging and inclusive history that Keene can be proud of and can tell their story to visitors and residents alike. So we were really just blown away by the creativity. As Robin said, this is one of the places where fine arts really intersected with placemaking, and it was a really great collaboration. So congratulations. And please receive your award.
Well, thank you so much. It was an honor to be a part of this project. It's an honor to get an honor, and it's not often that you get to kick off a item on your bucket list when you're in your 30s, and I'm really grateful for that. Being a part of a mural festival wasn't something I think I'd accomplished this early on in our Friends of Public Arts career, but I was willing to jump on the challenge, and Roland and I have been a part of Friends of Public Art since 2014. So this was a really sensational project to be a part of. The mural festival itself was 5 days. There were hundreds of artists. There were activities happening all over the streets. We had art markets, we had festivals going down side streets. We were able to close down one of our streets, which was pretty rare in Keene. We had municipality collaboration that was just out of this world communication with local officials who really wanted to see this happen so much that they were willing to work hard and many hours on rewording and rewriting things for us so that we could have painted murals on our downtown Main Street. This really was a exceptional project on so many fronts. So many subcommittees formed, financial or grant raising committee, which Roland was a part of, the many art festivals, the many little experiences happening up until the festival was just a project after a project from 2017 all the way up until June 19th when it started. And it was just the best thing I think I've ever done in my life. So thank you. And I think Roland has some nice things to say too.
We like to say that we didn't intend just to make art, but to make community. And from the very beginning, the community of the five and at times 6 executive committee members, we met 21 months every Monday to put this thing together. We raised almost $250,000, large donors, small donors, pennies at times. We had so much community engagement. We worked with our local historians to choose 40 potential themes We had in 3 or 4 open house nights, we had over 1,000 people come in and put their dots on what they wanted to vote for. So even in choosing the themes, the community was involved. We had 250 artists, over 300 volunteers, not a single no-show that didn't let us know they weren't coming in advance. So we had no blank slates on it. And it's a gift that's kept on giving. We've had Keene State, Antioch College, Antioch University have had classes. Our local schools have classes. We've had dozens of walking tours. The Historical Society of Cheshire County has taken on the education piece of it and the tour piece of it. So it's still alive and still happening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Picture. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, that was pretty something, wasn't it? Those were some amazing projects. And I hope that all of you who are watching, whether you're in the room or whether you're coming in through Zoom, I hope that you're inspired. I hope you're informed and inspired to look around and say, what can you be doing in your work that can make a difference for your community where you are? We're really glad that you're here today. Thank you so much. Thank you again to the Hotel Concord, to Stivler, and to Shaw Contract for supporting this event. And we all hope you have a great year, and we'll see you again next year, but I hope before that. But think as you're going through and also not what can you be doing, but what projects are there in your communities that you may want to nominate to get this award. Thank you and have a great afternoon.